Why is it said that cultural industrial products harm people? The depthless, pandering movies, TV, music, videos, and entertainment culture only pulls people into a cycle of self-alienation and misery. Life is getting farther and farther away from true happiness. The concept of culture industry comes from the concepts of Western Marxists, namely Adorno and Horkheimer of the Frankfurt School. It refers to those commoditized, vulgarized and depthless cultural products that are reproduced and disseminated on a large scale by capital by means of technology to make money for the outside world. For example, vulgar money-grubbing movies, TV, entertainment programs, and so on. While advancing commodification, they also manipulate the consciousness of the masses and use entertainment to deceive the masses and exercise the function of domination. The purpose of these cultural industrial products is only to make profit. While giving people relaxation, they also create a subjectless mass, which is used to cover up people's destiny of being manipulated in the midst of cultural life. People are only passively fed by these entertainment products, without any sense of creativity or autonomy, and without the slightest sense of subjectivity in them. Of course, these products are also mixed with artistic, literary and philosophical ideas, but they are selective. Certain ideas they will not let people know. The purpose is to erase people's rational reflection and critical consciousness, and to continue to control people's emotions in their leisure time, providing them with only the space for fantasy. Paralyze people's minds with pleasure and dump it in large quantities. Adorno states, the culture industry deceives the consumer by constantly wishing him away. He keeps changing the hedonistic activities and decor, but the promises are not actually fulfilled. They are merely pie in the face of the customer's hunger. The demander is tempted by a dazzling array of colors, but in reality man is forced to live a life of daily misery. In other words, cultural industrial products, those movies, entertainment videos, etc., that you watch all day long only give the illusion of comfort. Once the feeding is over, you have to face your dismal life again. Of course, some people will say, popular culture is all about entertainment, it's all about relaxation, it's all about vulgarity, there's nothing to criticize, and you don't allow people to relax. Adorno points out, the culture industry and popular culture are different and need to be viewed in a different light. Popular culture is something like culture that rises spontaneously among the masses, while the culture industry is a top-down culture with ulterior motives. He integrates the masses as consumers with the help of media technology and perpetrates hoodwinking and deception on them in the form of entertainment, force-feeding them the ideology of capitalism and placing the profit motive above all forms. Adorno then argues that quite a few postmodern cultural public goods, such as movies, magazines, the entertainment industry, and so on, are creating collective consumer empathy and public daydreams. By creating success stories, the American dream, pleasure, and so on to whitewash reality, to deceive the public, to immerse consumers in false happiness and cheap soothing, to make all kinds of revolutionary tendencies of the people are reduced to a timid mind, and mitigated, and even diluted, by the sweet adventures, domineering precedents, passionate love, dreams of high power and sentimental desires in the products of the cultural industry. The ultimate effect of whose cultural public good is to be anti-enlightenment and to make people happy. Relaxation is only his superficial dimension and excuse, because the masses simply do not have the opportunity to engage in subjective, creative, free and spontaneous activities. They simply do not experience what it means to be truly relaxed and happy. Adorno reminds us that the enlightenment that was supposed to be brought about by the technological advances of the media has turned out to be a hoax, a shackle that binds people's consciousness. He hindered the development of an autonomous, independent personality. The masses are surrounded by a low level of pleasure in which there is no longer a sense of negation or reflection. The working class is no longer united and class consciousness cannot be roused. The unequal and alienated labor of the Western bourgeoisie survives. That's why Adorno raised the dialectic of negativity to reawaken the public's enthusiasm for Marxism, that is, to awaken the criticality, in order to continue to play the dialectic of the great Marxism, to fight against the Western bourgeoisie, and to solve the problem of improving the alienated labor and those meaningless problems of overtime work. 996. Exploitative and unequal distribution, and so on. Horkheimer, a Western Marxist, also mentioned that in the midst of a historical period such as the present, the truth theory is critical, not affirmative. The future of mankind depends on an existing critical attitude. Adorno also mentioned that the fundamental characteristic of dialectics is negativity, and negation has a central role in the dialectical movement. In other words, only by regaining the critical spirit can we break the manipulation of the masses by the cultural industry of capital. Because the cultural industry of capital is an affirmative world of entertainment to the death, it does not encourage the masses to reflect and negate. Affirmative culture is the maintenance of the current capitalist system of power in the Western world. It is a warm water boiling frog effect. Oh, you are suffering from alienated labor. I relax you with entertainment consumption and other products. Then you are happy for a short while, and then you move on to the next cycle of alienated labor and exploitation, completely peeling off that critical class consciousness put forth by the great mentor Marx. We know that the movie and entertainment industry developed rapidly in the United States in the early 20th century. The public intellectuals in the United States, despite the fact that in the 1920s, they had also voiced the denial of sexual entertainment and the need to be restrained by the working masses, eventually peeled off the intellectuals and the public. Intellectuals completely due to the power of capital and the rise of populism in the United States. Even many literary intellectuals began to compromise with capital, giving rise to the kitschy nature of pop art in the 1960s. Since then, literature and art have lost their stance of representing the people, and have begun to serve capital and produce the hit entertainment industry. Cultural commodities that were superficial, devoid of depth, devoid of humanistic concern, and unconcerned with social issues and class problems, also ceased to have the profound content of enlightening the working masses. The works of art lost all their power, critical connotations and revolutionary significance. So pleasure and recreation, which seems to be just a spare time for the working masses, is in fact a kind of escape, but not from a bad reality, but from a revolt against the bad reality. This, too, constitutes an extension of alienated labor, and at the same time creates a vicious circle. There is a dependency between what its public thinks it needs and what the forces of control impose on it. This relationship keeps the forces of control in control. It is important to know that Marx emphasized in his economic and philosophical manuscripts that the essence of a human being is a free, conscious and creative production. Living under the capitalist mode of production, the laborer is alienated from his inner nature, and the human being becomes passive and isolated, deviating from a truly valuable, creative, and meaningful life. In the final analysis, therefore, the Frankfurt School's line was to say no to the industrial system of culture, and to encourage profound and enlightening works of literature and art that evoke a class consciousness and a critical spirit toward capitalist ideology. In this way, useful media works had the potential to awaken the public. As for individuals, there is no need to watch movies and television that make money out of you, or to indulge in entertainment stars. This kind of pleasure is low. You should pursue more essential pleasure, that is, to do those subjective and creative activities. You should be producing things that have you objectified, things that have you betting your life energy on them, not just passively feeding them. Of course, as Maslow emphasized, the creative life is not the privilege of a few, nor is it only such fields as painting, music, literature, and so on that are creative, but all people have an inner essence. Maslow says, we have to give up the stereotype, what with the idea that the creative life is all about the gifted, the talented and the prolific. I had a significant number of people among my subjects who are creative but not prolific geniuses. They were not poets, inventors, artists, or creative intellectuals. For example, a woman who was a poor, ordinary housewife who was totally uneducated, but who was a perfect human being. He creates meals that are nothing short of feasts, and his interest in tablecloths, cutlery, glassware and furniture is flawless. In all these areas, he was unique, original, exquisite and unexpected. So he was indeed creative. That is to say, a first-rate soup is more creative than a second-rate painting. Those second-rate poems when the paintings are far less creative than first-rate cooking. Those who are self-actualizers are precisely those who continually exercise their greater creativity in any field. This creativity is a creativity based on personality qualities, and those who are motivated by this kind of growth can always manifest various creative life qualities in their lives, and can consistently inspire courage to face challenges. Those who are motivated to live, for example, as the famous psychologist and also of the Frankfurt School, Frank, said, the way to obtain this freedom is self-realization, the exercise of one's individuality. In other words, the freedom of activism lies in the spontaneous activity of the whole and the complete personality. That is to say, the individual's own creative vitality breaks down his alienation by the realization of his true self. If the man can realize himself by means of spontaneous activity and bring himself into contact with others in the world, he is no longer a solitary speck of dust. He becomes part of an organized whole with the world, and thus his doubts about himself and the meaning of life are cleared away. Thank you.